Welcome to another episode of Capacity. Today we're here with Matt Soucie, the president of CAMM Metals. CAMM Metals is here in the Hartford area of Connecticut. They're a precision sheet metal fabricator working with a tube laser, water jet, laser cutting, forming, and welding. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you for having me.
You have a great story. We've talked a little bit about it, but tell me how you got into manufacturing.
I guess the job that I'm in now, I kind of fell into it. I like to say that I'm between interviews, which I guess there's a story there to be had. But the interest in manufacturing, I think, was pretty evident early on. I definitely like to take apart my toys as a kid and figure out how they were made and put together and how they worked.
What was your favorite toy that you took apart?
An electronic battleship game. It was great. All kinds of stuff in there.
What did you take apart but couldn't put back together again?
Oh, the whole thing. I was always good at taking apart. Now I put it all together. Now here we put things together.
But you didn't really realize that translated to like work in manufacturing for a long time. Like, how did that realization come to be?
No, I didn't realize it. It was a fun source of jokes as a kid. You know, I definitely got teased about it from the family. But the interest came after college. I had a job as a sales rep, knocking on doors. It was a painful job. I was miserable in it.
What were you selling?
Photocopiers and fax machines.
Were super interesting.
Glorious, right? So I left that job maybe after 6 months, and my father had just started CAMM Metals about a year and a half before that, and he said, why don't you come in between interviews? Why don't you come in, make a few bucks, go look for a job, go figure out what you want to do, and that's how I started.
What was your first job? Here,
my first job here at CAMM Metals, I was punching holes in angles using an iron worker, a Scotchman iron worker. That was Dad's first tool when he started the company, and so I was just punching holes.
Were you good at it?
I guess I was. He kept me around. He didn't send me down the road.
So how long after you started doing that did you realize that there's no more interviews in your future?
That's a great question. Probably a couple months, because I wasn't doing this, full time right off the bat. It was 10 hours, 15 hours a week, and I was still interviewing and looking around, and thought that my interests were elsewhere. And there's some hesitation, probably on Dad's part too, in working with family. It's not easy. But we found, I think, pretty early on that we could make it work, and working with my dad and with my brother for a number of years was one of the best experiences of my life.
Well, when it was hard, what did it feel like, and how did you get over it?
When it was hard, it felt like an argument in the family. It wasn't about work. The hard parts felt like family. It just felt like, why am I not getting along with my dad? Why am I not getting along with my brother? And you try really hard not to let it spill over into the weekends or into birthday parties or family dinners and things, but they blend together. Mm-hmm. And so you gotta find a way to make it work.
And are there any rules in the family about no work talk at birthday parties, or
just the opposite? We would always talk work. It was always on our mind. We were always talking about it. We never fought about it. We had somebody years ago tell us maybe that was part of our problem, that we didn't, get some of our thoughts out fully. That we were always trying to, keep the peace and keep things moving along, but that was how we dealt with some of the problems. So from
punch operator to president, I mean, there's some steps along the way, right?
Sure.
Walk us through that journey.
So I started, we bought a strip at Cap 1000 around 1997. It was 20 years old when we bought it. It was beat up. It was abused, and it was in rough shape, but we got it running. And we hired an installer out of New Jersey to come up, install the machine, and when he got here, Dad said to him, "Oh, by the way, nobody here knows how to run it. Would you stick around for a few days and teach Matt how to program it and how to run it?" And so Mike Smith was his name, out of New Jersey, stuck around, and he trained me, and he taught me how to use it, taught me how to run it, and it was great. It got me off on the right foot. So yeah, so that was the beginning of really starting to starting the company evolving from more than just punching holes and angles.
What do you think helped you learn how to do that so quickly? Like you said, your dad didn't know how to operate it. You didn't know how to operate it. You remember this guy Mike so well that you remember his name.
I do.
Like, what was that experience like? Was it really difficult? Was it something that you realized that you were good at? Like, walk us through that.
I think I picked it up pretty quickly. I did have this childhood interest of understanding how things worked, and Mike, I think, was a great teacher. He really took the time to show me how to run that punch, but I picked it up quick. I got it. I guess I get how to run machines, and I think I do pretty good with computers too. So it really came pretty naturally. There were some struggles. I mean, there were some broken earmuffs that met a hard concrete wall pretty quickly, mm-hmm. but yeah, it came pretty quickly.
So, what was the growth story like? How did the company evolve? Had you always been doing precision aerospace parts, or did you evolve into that?
We evolved into it. The early days it was the simplest work we could find.
On purpose, like you were looking for simple stuff.
Yeah, we were looking for simple things. We didn't have the equipment that other shops in the area had. The company started in my dad's garage. He sheetrocked the garage. He had to double the electrical power in the house from 100 amps to 200. And he had a kerosene heater on the floor of the garage. Throughout the winter, that was how he worked. So,
did you think he was crazy at the time?
No, I was inspired. I was like, you've always wanted to go out on your own and do it. And, he didn't have a big nest egg to dip into to make it happen. So we started out as simply as he could with the iron worker. And he just kept reinvesting. That attitude is still my attitude today. Reinvest the profits, make the company more efficient. It's paid off for us for 28 years, and I have no intention of changing that mindset.
What was the first big reinvestment?
After the punch, it had to be a press brake, which turned out to be a total mistake. It wasn't what it was hyped up to be. It didn't. The crowning features didn't work, so we couldn't bend square bends over the 10-foot length of the bed. So we kept it for 3 or 4 months, and we had to send it back. And then we got I think we got a used press, a better name brand, but it was used, a little more affordable for us, and that lasted quite a while. So, and now the attitude is, buy the right machine, buy the name brand that we know, that we trust, it's reliable. Cheap machine isn't really all that it's cracked up to be. So
you learned that one fast.
Yeah, I did. I did. Yep. So
with your sales background, did you act as part sales while you were here, or was it mostly your dad?
It was mostly my dad. Dad was in the office. It was for a couple of years, and we moved out of those 2 bays in 1999. Moved to a building not far from here. It was about 8,000 square feet. That was in the winter of '99. And must have been around 2000, maybe 2001, no later than 2001. I'm out on the floor working, and I got injured. I was using a cutoff wheel to cut some metal, and the cutoff wheel broke apart from the center, and it hit me in the forehead, and you might see a little scar up there. Cut my forehead, right down to the bone. And Dad came out, and I was bleeding, and he's like, let's go to the hospital. So go to the hospital, get stitched up. I'm laying in bed. Now I'm just cutting the head. I'm not. My arms are fine. My legs, it's just a cut on the forehead. And Dad says, "Hey, I need you back at work tomorrow. We got to get those parts out the door." So I was back to work the next day. It didn't hold me up. It was just a cut. It was a pretty significant cut. So it wasn't long after that I found myself in the office, starting to do estimating, and maybe some of the things that I might be more naturally fitted to than being on the floor.
Sure. Everything's been perfect without any interruption and any strife since then, right?
The world just keeps on chugging along. It's the easiest thing to do is run a business. Right. Oh my God, no, it's had its ups and downs, for sure.
What was the first major thing that happened?
The first major thing had to be the slowdown when we were here in our current building. I can't tell you the year. Early 2000s, maybe it was 2004 or 5. We got real slow. All the work just kind of washed up. And
why?
I don't know. I don't remember, I should say. I don't remember. I just remember, we were really down to a bare bones staff, and we had to put some guys on furlough program. They were working 3 days a week, getting paid the other 2 through unemployment, and it was tough financially, tough, keeping people here at CAMM Metals. What would make somebody want to stay when they're being furloughed, when they're on this program? You look around and say, hey, are they going to make it? Is this company going to make it? Am I in the right place for myself and my family? Am I making the right choices? So that was really hard. And at the same time, we had, just before that, we had invested in some new machinery. So we had some pretty high lease payments that were due every month. Not a lot of work coming in. And, we had guys that we were desperately trying to keep. And 2 of them are still here today, 2 of our stars.
How'd you do it? How'd you get them to stay?
I don't know. I would love to, I would love to know. I would love to ask them both. I hope it was because they saw that, despite the slow amount of work and the slow times, we were still trying to treat them the right way. And I think we treated them well before that period, and I'd like to believe I'm treating them well today. They're a big part of our success today, for sure.
Absolutely. And what kept you going through that? I mean, from a business owner's perspective, those are the hardest moments, right?
Yeah. You have no choice. You just got to figure it out. There's no other option. We were in this. Dad, at that time, my name wasn't on the line for any of the machinery. I wasn't financially responsible for anything, but Dad's name was on the line, and we're a family. We stick together. I think it's that simple.
What was your relationship like through that hard time?
I think the personal relationships were fine. I think it was good. Dad, there was moments I can, think back, and Dad's, it's scary. It's hard. He was closer to retirement when he started this business, and I'm sure he had to be wondering, man, what did I do? Mm-hmm. But it's worked out. It's the highs and lows. It's all been worth it for me, anyways. It's all been worth it.
So you have a really well-run, tidy shop that's laid out in a way that makes sense. You have machines that are of high quality. You've learned these lessons. What grounds your philosophy and how you think about business and how you think about how the shop runs? Are you learning from other shop owners? Are you thinking through things in a different way? How do you think about these things?
So when we moved here, we had a friend who was a process engineer, and he helped my brother, who Craig ran the shop at that time. He helped him think about flow, about how parts flow in and out of the building. So yeah, there was some real purpose to how we laid out the shop. Material comes in the back door, and hopefully the first operation and most of the work we do is right there when that material comes in. And then best case scenario, the material just moves in a straight line, or it's a loop here for us, up the aisle, make a bend, and then come back down. Ideally, the work comes in the door and it just moves along the line and it flows in and out of the shop smoothly. It's you're really trying to. We are really trying to create a process, create a flow that is logical, that makes sense for everybody out there to understand, that doesn't see material zigzagging all around the shop, and I think it does add to our efficiency and our streamline efforts.
Well, you have a shockingly low amount of inventory. How do you do it?
Inventory is a nuisance. It's a hassle. I don't want to pay anybody to manage it, to track it, to take care of it, to look over it. Inventory, I read when I was in grad school, I read a book about a company here in Hartford called Wire Mold, and it was called Better Thinking, Better Results, and changed my whole attitude on inventory. Before if I could buy 10 sheets of material at whatever, 30 cents a pound, give me 20 sheets and I'll take a price discount. And this book changed my whole attitude. Inventory was the enemy. It takes up floor space. It takes up labor time and the effort to stack it, unpack it, keep it safe, keep it clean. There's so many reasons not for us not to have inventory. We're a job shop. We make to order. We don't have a lot of work that says, you're going to be doing the same part every week or every month on a regular basis. The work is changing day to day. So that makes it maybe easier to say, all right, we're not going to keep inventory. But yeah, my attitude is I'll charge the material that's required for the job. If there's anything left over, I don't need it. If the guys need it for setups or for any loss that might happen out there on the floor, that's fine. But as far as I'm concerned, I don't want to make any efforts to inventory anything.
Was there resistance, that type of thinking from?
From my father and my brother.
Oh yeah.
Like that was I guess if there was ever a really hard battle to win, that was it.
You're just throwing this book at them, like, just go read this.
Sure.
You'll get it.
It's simple, right? I mean, but I believed in it, and at the time I was the one doing the purchasing. So
you got to control it.
I was in control of matters, yeah. And there was then, and there still is today, every once in a while, when we're tight on material, you scrap a part out, and then you got to wait a day or a couple days to bring in material. But after the first year of doing this, we went from 25% raw material costs year over year easily for 10 years. We went from 25 to 15% in 1 year. So once they saw that, they weren't as resistant. It was still, inventory is a safety net. It's a safety net for a foreman to say, man, if I make a mistake, I've got something over there. I can keep this job going. So it was not, they were never fully convinced, but the money difference, sure made it a whole lot easier.
Just don't make mistakes, right?
Yeah, it's simple. I can sit in my office and tell people to do that all day, and then I'll close the door. But no, it's hard, and so when mistakes happen, hey, that's just part of running a manufacturing business.
How did that philosophy affect you when there were supply chain issues, when you couldn't get stuff for a long period of time? Did you pivot and change and buy more stock then, or did you stick to your guns? And
I stuck to my guns. We spent a lot of time, many years when we were starting out, being almost afraid to tell a customer no. We did anything and everything they could. You got to have it in 7 days. Okay, we'll send our truck to the service center, pick up the metal, we'll bring it back. You're jumping through hoops with every little thing. It gets old. It gets, you can't run a business that way. So at some point you have to say, this is, there's some limitations onto what we can do for every customer that we have. As we've grown, we can't be, we can't do, there's limits to what we can do. So we didn't lose any customers when there was inventory shortages. There was nothing that I can, just sitting here thinking, nothing that really angered or frustrated any customers.
Because they knew everybody was having problems.
We were all in the same boat.
Yeah.
We had new machinery that was delayed by 6 months because one component on a $150,000 machine. Mm-hmm. We were all in the same boat.
So you went from making the simplest parts you could find to making some pretty cool stuff that we can't talk about.
Yeah.
But how did you jump into doing such high precision aerospace stuff?
It was somebody called me up one day when we were doing any job we could take, and he said, "You guys are the guys that'll do anything." and we were, and he was right. And I thought, what a terrible reputation to have. It wasn't who we wanted to be. We wanted more production work. We wanted repeat work. We wanted things that would flow through the shop easier. And these one-off, unique, custom jobs get you so far, and then you realize, man, it's hard to do those custom one-off jobs day after day, week after week. So I kind of had to change my attitude about the work that was coming to us every day, or the opportunities that were coming to us every day, and saying, all right, I'm going to make a change. I'm going to say no to some of that wild, crazy stuff. And I might have some guys sitting around not doing anything, but we're going to look for the work that we want. We're going to look for the work that is profitable, that challenges the guys on the floor, helps them find some sense of accomplishment in their days, and things that hopefully are going to come back around again, so that we will become more efficient second, third time around, and then they become more profitable.
So first, you take away the safety net of inventory. Second, you take away the safety net of all these jobs. How did that go over?
That went over, I think, pretty well. I think it's a whole lot easier to manage longer production runs. It's easier to manage jobs that you're familiar with. Every guy out there, anytime you have a new part or a new product, there's a learning curve. You got to understand what we're doing. You got to understand how everything goes together. But when the work comes back around, everybody gets it. Everybody understands what they're doing, and things just move through the shop.
Why do your customers come back to you?
Quality. It's always about quality. The only thing I get on everybody here is about quality. Any new hire, when they come in, I meet with them on the first day, and I tell them, first, they've got to be safe out there on the shop floor. Second, the only thing I'm asking them to do is to produce quality work. Everything else is secondary. It's not that it's unimportant. We want to hit our due dates. That's always very critical. But it's the quality. And I've told everybody out there on the floor many times, we've been handed work, large amounts of work, large dollar work, because of the quality of their work. It's nothing that I do in the office. it's all about the quality.
What about this pressure to have high utilization and OEE and lower tack time and faster cycle times and what none of that is in the word quality.
It's not. But I'm still the face of the company. If something goes wrong, I'm still the one that goes to visit the customer and look at it and explain to them that we'll get it right, that we'll fix it. It's a family business, and the customers are like family too. It's a close relationship. It's a very hard thing to go visit a customer and have them look at you and say, "Did you know this is what your company produced?" It just happened a week and a half ago, and I was embarrassed. I was like, "Oh my God." And I looked at the parts and I said, "I don't know who made it. I don't know who made that part at CAMM Metals," because it was like nothing we did. So it's very embarrassing when that happens. But yeah, they come to us for quality.
How have things changed, whether in the industry or for you over the last 30 years almost now? Like, what would you say the biggest difference is in how manufacturing is happening?
For us, as we've grown, as we've invested the money into more and more CNC equipment, the speed of parts going through the shop has increased. The quality has increased. Not that it's easy, but it's become easier to produce these parts. And as engineers, designers understand the capabilities of the CNC machines, sometimes things get more complicated, they get more intricate. But we are moving towards. I'm moving here towards really trying to put a machine in every workstation. It's hard. Everybody says the same story. It's hard to find people to do the work. So you buy a machine to do the work, and you train somebody to run that machine, but you're putting a machine out there. The downside is that with every machine you buy, you're taking away the need to learn a manual skill. So the problem becomes self-fulfilling. If you can't find good help, you buy a machine, but then you're not training people to do some of this manual work. But I think it's made us a safer shop. It's been a long time since we've had an injury of any, real consequence.
Certainly to the level of scalp bleeding that you had.
Yes, thankfully, right? I mean, I don't wish that on anybody, and that's not. We want it to be a safe shop. So, it is. But you have to go out there and know how a machine can hurt you. You have to know what to look out for and how to treat these machines and tools safely and properly.
Looking forward, what's on your mind? What are you worried about? What are you excited about?
I'm excited about this. I'm excited about laser welding. I think that's probably the next target for us. We've really put machinery in about 2/3 of our shop now runs on CNC machines, the tube laser, the water jets, the laser, press brakes, machining centers. Welding is still a trade, and I don't see that ever not being the case here at CAMM Metals. I don't see us getting into robots. That it doesn't fit us. Not the work that we have today anyways, but laser welding, I think that's coming up because we've got all these machines producing parts and components very quickly in 2/3 of the shop, and then it gets to welding, and that's still a manual process. So we've got to find a way to make the welders more efficient, to get work through welding faster.
Zooming back a bit, your father has handed over the reins to you. You're the guy now.
Yeah.
That's rare. Many people don't ever go through that succession successfully. What was that process like for you? Was it super smooth? Were there some bumps? What did you learn? What advice would you have to other people going through that? Like, what made you guys successful at making sure that transition happened well?
That's a big story. So years ago, Dad worked in another family business. And he saw the first generation not leave. And he saw the second generation waiting for Dad to leave and might not have ever gotten their chance to run the company. I don't know how that all panned out for them, but he saw an owner that should have gotten out of the way long before and just didn't. And so Dad knew, one, he wasn't going to hold us back. At the time, I was doing all the sales and marketing, and my brother was running the shop. So he knew, that he didn't want to hold us back. The transition, itself was tough. Dad had always said it would be equal, 50-50, to me and my brother. And the business guy in me said, I like that thought. I don't mind if we both make the same salary, but we had this. There's got to be a way to break the ties. You can't have everything be equal.
Had you seen other businesses struggle with that, or what gave you the intuition that was something that was important?
Yeah, I had seen Dad struggle at other businesses where maybe the guy that was calling the shots, wasn't making great decisions, but maybe it was just intuition. Maybe it was just, hey, we got to have a way to break ties. So I was, I said to Dad at one point, I said, look, I'm happy if we're equal owners. Everything will be, financially it'll be 50-50, but how are we going to break tie? I asked him, how are we going to break a tie? And there's not really an answer for that. Mm-hmm. There's no real answer. So, I love my brother to death, and working with him was one of the great joys of my life. But somebody had to be able to break a tie, and so it was hard for Craig. When that was brought up, I think he was. Look, I don't know if he was afraid if I was going to be, lording over him, mm-hmm. managing him, which was the last thing I needed to do or wanted to do. He's an incredibly smart and talented guy. So the transition was tough. The moments, the weeks and months leading up to it. But I think probably 4 or 5 months into the transition, when Dad moved to Florida, he was completely out of the picture, and Craig and I were here. He said, it's working out better than I thought. I think, I hope it worked out. Craig ended up leaving the company in 2019, moving to Phoenix. I hope I didn't push him out. I don't think that I did. Both Dad and Craig had said, years before, you can be a little tough sometimes. I've tried to temper that. I've tried to rein it in. So I hope I didn't push anybody away. But it's a tricky thing. It's a tricky thing to manage the transition, because it affects not just the family here at work, but it affects the family outside of work.
Yeah. You said your dad moved to Florida. At what moment did either you or him understand and believe that it was okay for him to go? Because I think even when these transition plans start to work pretty well, it's that last little bit of really letting go and even the physical distance that in my experience, I see hold some people back. What was that last mile like for you?
When he left, he made me buy him a computer to take to Florida with him. He was like, I'm gonna work from Florida. I'm gonna check in on the books. I'm gonna check in on this and that. I said, all right. So I bought him a new computer to take to Florida, put a new computer here in the office. You've got your desk, you've got your chair, come up anytime. And about 2 months in, he's like, you don't need me anymore. So he realized, and Craig and I knew we didn't need him to, do anything, but he built this. He built it from, an iron worker in his garage to, 17,000 square feet and a bunch of machines and employees, and he was proud of it.
You have a lot of advanced equipment, computerization, technology in the company. Do you think that was the direction that your dad was predicting things were going to go? Like how do you think when he started it, did he imagine things would unfold?
What I don't know if prescient is the right word, but what a question. So CAMM Metals has, everybody here knows CAMM Metals to have one meeting, which was Craig, Al, Marge, and Matt. That's the family. That's the acronym. That's what I tell everybody. The other meeting that was really something that Dad came up with, and I don't bring up, I bet nobody here has ever heard me say it. It was computer-aided metals manufacturing. And I think when you're starting out, you got an iron worker in your garage at home. Computer-aided metals manufacturing is a dream. It's a goal. It's maybe one day I'll get there. So that's definitely been part of the plan all along. And so I look around now and I say, man, we are in some ways farther along, I think, than he ever could have imagined. Certainly with the technology, the software technology we have in the office, none of that he ever saw coming, not 28 years ago.
Has he seen it today as it's working?
He has.
And
he wants to come back to work. He's a techie at heart. He's a total techie at heart. And so he's like, I could work from home. I could run all these systems, down in Florida. I'd just give me my computer back.
Well, that's good. I mean, it's good to see that that foresight, that prescience, that vision paid off. That what I like to think of as maybe even just a small philosophical nudge pushed you into this direction, right?
Yes. Yep. The technology. It's exciting for me to buy these machines, to put them on the floor, and once they're on the floor, I don't really have much to do with them. It's up to the guys and the women on the floor to run them. And so I think if you put good machines into the hands of talented people, it's a winning combination.
So when I walk through the shop, you have a busy but calm shop. People are working well with each other. You have a great culture of making quality products. How do you think about creating that culture? And have there been moments where it was threatened, or it got toxic, or it was bad, or what do you do to be the gardener that fosters that culture?
Yeah. There's been many moments over the years when it was toxic. Years ago, we had somebody out there who it was a toxic attitude. But he was the most talented guy we had. And it felt like a dilemma. It felt like, man, how do we couldn't fix him. We tried that. That wasn't working. And he was the most talented, smartest guy we had ever had, working for us. So we sat on our hands for a long time. And when we finally let him go, the very next day, every single person in that shop stepped up and picked up, whatever slack might have been there because of this firing. We thought we learned the lesson that day, but I can't say that we truly lived by it until just a couple years ago, after Craig left. Todd, who is our foreman today, and who was one of the guys that had stuck around through the furloughs, he said, "Look, man, I can't run a shop with guys that are causing problems, with guys that are, thinking that they're better than anybody else or choosing what work they want to do and don't want to do." It wasn't until Todd came around that we started to live by those words. And so me and Todd, agreed when he took the foreman job, we're not going to let this happen again. And so he's been in the role now for, I think, 4 years. And I tell him all the time, he's lowered the temperature. He's lowered the temperature out there, and we really do. We have a tight-knit group of people that like to work together. He has no problem asking somebody that might not have been hired to do a particular job, to go to ask them to do it. And they do it. And there's no pushback. There's no struggle. He's got a great bunch of guys out there on the floor, and he works hard at that. It takes effort. And I've realized in the last year and a half, that I've got to put the same effort into my team here in the office. And so I'm taking more time to meet with them and keep everything here in the office moving well. It's a family. I'm the only Soucie left in the business, and I don't have kids. There's no Soucie coming along, but I want to keep that family business feel. I really do. It's special.
If there is one piece of advice about all the things you've learned and talked about today that you could go back in time and plant in your own head, what would that be? What's something that you think is the most valuable thing that you didn't learn for too long?
Oh, man. Probably living, like we just talked about, not letting somebody's skill or talents override, whatever personal behaviors might be causing problems or being disruptive or causing tension to other people in the company. It was a hard lesson to learn.
But people of that talent, they can be like a safety net, just like the inventory, right?
Totally.
Totally. I'm imagining if you told yourself that, there'd be some resistance. What would you tell yourself in the past that would get you to really understand and believe it?
To really believe it, man. I don't know. I thought we learned the lesson 15 years ago, whenever it was. Mm-hmm. What would I tell myself? I would say just the culture is more important than the talent. The culture and the team. The team is more, not the team and the culture are more important than any one person's individual talent.
Well, thanks for coming on the podcast and sharing all these learnings. Where can people get a hold of you if they want to ask you questions about culture, about technology, about anything?
Sure. Well, the website is www.cammmetals.com, CAMMETALS. We're here in East Windsor, Connecticut, just between Springfield and Hartford. They can find all of our contact information on the website, and we'd be happy to talk with them.
And if there's some really high margin, easy work to do where people want high quality precision parts, who should they contact?
Contact me.
All right.
Yeah, I'm the one. I'm still the face of the company, without a doubt.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Sonny. It's been a pleasure.